What if I told you that your strength, your calm in the storm, and your quiet resilience are the very reasons some people despise you? That behind their smiles and casual conversations lies a simmering resentment. Why? Because you live by principles they fear to confront. You have built walls of discipline while they remain trapped in chaos. You have become what they envy most, a person in control of themselves. But here's the twist. Their hatred has nothing to do with you as a person. It's a war they fight within themselves, and your presence merely stirs their insecurities. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king, reminds us, the best revenge is not to be like your enemy. So, we will not retaliate with anger or contempt. Instead, we'll arm ourselves with understanding and wisdom. Stay until the end, because what you'll learn today may not only explain why others secretly hate you, but also teach you how to rise above their resentment. Let's dive into the depths of human nature, guided by the timeless teachings of Stoicism. The silent power of self-control. In a society driven by emotional outbursts, instant gratification, and constant validation, the individual who remains calm under pressure stands out like a lighthouse in a storm. Your ability to master your emotions isn't just rare, it's revolutionary. But revolutions always attract opposition. When you practice self-control, you unknowingly hold a mirror to the emotional chaos of others, and not everyone can handle what they see. Think of a heated argument. One person shouts, their face red with anger, their words a cascade of accusations. The other remains calm, composed, and measured in their response, or chooses not to respond at all. Who holds the power in this exchange? The one who controls their emotions. Your ability to pause, reflect, and respond from a place of reason, not passion, is a skill cultivated through the Stoic principle of apatheia, or freedom from destructive emotions. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This strength is not loud or aggressive. It is quiet and unshakable. It is the kind of strength that others envy but rarely admit to. And that envy often turns into resentment. Your calmness becomes a stark contrast to the emotional volatility of others. In your presence, they are forced to confront their inability to control their tempers, their impulses, their desires. This is not a comfortable realization. It's easier for them to project their frustrations onto you than to look inward and address the root cause of their turmoil. Imagine this scenario. You're in a high-pressure meeting at work. Colleagues are panicking, voices raised, fingers pointing. You sit quietly, analyzing the situation, speaking only when necessary. Your composure not only diffuses the tension, but also highlights the irrationality of the chaos around you. People hate that. They hate how effortlessly you navigate situations that leave them flustered. But this hatred isn't about you, it's about them. The Stoics teach us not to take this personally. As Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." When faced with others' resentment, your role is not to react in kind. Instead, you must remain steadfast, knowing that your self-control is both your shield and your sword. But self-control is just the beginning. Let us move to the next chapter and explore another reason why your presence stirs hidden animosity: the uncompromising nature of integrity. The intimidation of unyielding integrity. Integrity is a rare virtue in a world where shortcuts and compromises are often mistaken for pragmatism. To live with integrity is to live in alignment with your values, regardless of the consequences. But this unwavering commitment to your principles can make others uncomfortable. Why? Because it highlights their own moral inconsistencies. Seneca, one of the great Stoic philosophers, wrote, "What is good is not always pleasant. Living with integrity is not always easy, and it is rarely convenient. But for the Stoic, convenience is irrelevant. What matters is virtue. When you act with integrity, choosing honesty over deception, courage over cowardice, and justice over expedience, you set a standard that others may find threatening. Consider a situation where dishonesty is the norm, whether it's a workplace culture of cutting corners or a social circle where gossip reigns supreme. The person who refuses to participate in these behaviors becomes a silent accuser. Your integrity casts a spotlight on their lack of it, and rather than rising to meet your example, many will choose to resent you for it. This resentment often manifests in subtle ways: exclusion from social groups, passive-aggressive remarks, or attempts to undermine your credibility. But remember, their actions say more about them than they do about you. As Marcus Aurelius reminds us, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. Your thoughts, rooted in integrity, shield you from their negativity. Living with integrity requires courage. It demands that you prioritize your values over your comfort, that you remain true to yourself even when it costs you the approval of others. And yes, it will cost you, but the reward is far greater: peace of mind and the knowledge that you are living a life of purpose. As we move forward, let us delve into the third reason people may secretly hate you: your relentless pursuit of excellence. The relentless pursuit of excellence. Excellence is not a destination. It is a relentless journey that challenges the limits of your potential. To strive for excellence is to confront mediocrity head-on, not just in others, but in yourself. In a world where shortcuts, laziness, and complacency are the norm, the individual who constantly pushes beyond the average, who seeks growth at every turn, will inevitably become a source of unease for those around them. People will secretly hate you for the simple reason that your standard is higher than theirs. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." To pursue excellence is to be in full control of one's abilities, one's actions, and one's character. The individual who continuously seeks to improve, whether it's mastering a skill, refining their thoughts, or strengthening their body, becomes a living example of the power of self-discipline. The problem? This level of commitment to self-mastery often exposes the laziness, excuses, and unwillingness to improve in others. And this, my friends, creates resentment. Think about it. In a room full of people who settle for mediocrity, you show up early, put in the work, and constantly strive to better yourself. Your unwavering dedication to improvement highlights their lack of effort, and no one likes to be reminded of their own potential that they're too afraid to reach. Their resentment may not always be obvious, but it lingers in their passive-aggressive remarks, their attempts to minimize your achievements, or their quiet wish for you to stumble. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, reflected deeply on the need for constant self-improvement. Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. Your pursuit of excellence, both inward and outward, becomes your greatest asset and your most significant challenge to others. They can either rise to meet your standard or resent you for it, but in either case, you remain unaffected. The Stoic path is clear. The pursuit of excellence isn't for the approval of others, but for your own development. The enemy of excellence is not the person who resents you, it is the person who abandons the pursuit for comfort. As we continue, let's examine the fourth reason people secretly hate you: your radical independence. This one strikes at the heart of societal norms and expectations. The radical independence. Human beings are social creatures, and as such, we tend to seek approval, validation, and connection with others. Society, in its many forms, encourages conformity. Follow the rules, fit in, be like everyone else. But when an individual steps away from the herd, when they make the conscious decision to walk their own path, they disrupt the established order. This is where resentment grows. People hate you for your radical independence because you challenge their comfort, their expectations, and their illusions of safety within the group. The Stoics were masters of independence. They understood that true freedom comes not from external circumstances, but from an internal state of self-reliance. Epictetus, the former slave-turned-philosopher, famously taught, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." The independent person is free in the truest sense. They do not seek validation from others, do not rely on external approval for their sense of self-worth, and do not fear being alone in their convictions. But here's the catch. This kind of radical independence isn't always well received. The more independent you become, the more you expose the dependency of others. Those around you who rely on social validation, groupthink, or herd mentality will view your independence as a challenge to their own insecurities. When you stand apart from the crowd, you force others to face their own conformity. This is uncomfortable, and discomfort often breeds resentment. To live independently, the Stoic teaches, you must first master your desires. You must be willing to accept that external circumstances, people's opinions, and even success are fleeting. True independence comes from within. It's a life lived by one's own principles, where happiness does not depend on the approval of others, but on the alignment of thoughts, words, and actions. When you step outside of the system, when you live by your own rules, others are often left with the choice to either follow your lead or resent you for daring to live without the constraints of society's expectations. We now come to the final reason why people secretly hate you: your willingness to face uncomfortable truths, both about the world and about yourself. The brutal truth of self-awareness. There's a certain discomfort that arises when someone holds up a mirror to reality, when they expose the truth of who we are and what we've become. But for the Stoic, self-awareness is the highest form of wisdom. To know oneself fully, without illusion or avoidance, is the foundation of living a virtuous life. Yet, for many, this kind of brutal honesty is unbearable. It forces them to confront their weaknesses, their fears, and the truths they would rather ignore. To be self-aware is to be willing to see both your strengths and your flaws. It requires the courage to face your imperfections and accept them as part of who you are. But it also demands that you take responsibility for those flaws, that you do not blame external circumstances or other people for the faults within yourself. This kind of self-awareness is painful, but it is also liberating. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus advised, "Know first who you are, and then adorn yourself accordingly." In other words, you must begin by understanding your true nature. This understanding isn't about boosting your ego or seeking validation. It's about stripping away the layers of illusion that society, culture, and even your own mind have placed on you. When you fully see yourself, you are free to improve. And this constant self-improvement is both a gift and a curse. Others hate you for your self-awareness because it forces them to confront their own ignorance. When you look at the world through the lens of self-awareness, you see things as they truly are, not as you wish them to be. This makes you a force for truth, a challenge to the lies and distractions that others use to justify their actions, their beliefs, and their behavior. In the face of this truth, many will either seek to match your level of awareness or resent you for making them feel exposed. Now, with all these insights in mind, I invite you to ask yourself, how much of your life have you spent avoiding the truths that could set you free? And how will you respond to those who resent you for living authentically?